So the talk for tonight is called, Who is the Christ? And I made up a list of the different things that Jesus is noted for saying. And I think we will all acknowledge that Jesus was certainly a bright Christ. He said the meek shall inherit the earth, but actually that word meek, when translated directly from the Aramaic into the English, means the teachable. The teachable shall inherit the earth because they will learn truth and they will integrate the truth. They that hunger shall be fed. He was talking about both physically and spiritually. When you have a quest for spirit comes into your life to cooperate with you into having a better life, growing personally and spiritually. The mercy shall obtain mercy. This is a statement of the law of cause and effect. And in our lives, every thought, feeling, emotion, and belief goes out like a frequency wave into the universe and then brings back corresponding at some time and some place. So even what we think in the privacy of our own minds goes into universal law. And so if we're sending someone love, love will come back to us in some way. The pure in heart shall see God. Who thinks purity sees it and is perceiving God. Well, I don't know about the pure in heart seeing God, but I can tell you for sure that the closer we get to the loving presence, the God of our being, Father, Mother, God, the greater we feel that presence. And the more we feel that presence, the more it touches our heart and our soul and our life. And when that presence comes in and we feel our oneness with it, we would just sit there in a state of bliss or crying in a state of bliss. Before coming to the altar, settle your grievances with your brother. That would really translate into, before you come to talk to God, clear up your garbage. If our eye be single, we shall be filled with light, and we will perceive the gold. That means to have a tunnel vision of spirituality, and it's like the laser lights, the focus of the laser light, that our spirituality is so strongly focused that it overreigns every part of our life. Judge not so you will not be judged. This is again the law of cause and effect. Because if you judge someone, you're going to attract judgment to you. Whatever energies we are experiencing, whether they're negative or positive, go out into the universal law to bring back the same in some form. Until we heal the consciousness of any of the negativity. Now, he said, ask in faith, believing you have it now, and it will be so. And in our center and in our teachings, we have a 5-step prayer. The first step is that there's only God. The second step is that I'm one with God. And the third step is what this is talking about. The third step is a declaration of the end result that you want to see in your life. If you go all the way back to Job in the Bible, it says, thou shalt decree a thing, and it will be established unto you. So who makes decrees? Royalty. And what are we? We are divine royalty, whether we know it or not. The next is, your faith has made you whole. When people would come to Jesus for healing, he would ask them, do you want to be healed? And they would say yes. And he would say, do you believe you can be healed? And they would say yes. And then he would say, then so be it done according to your faith. Isn't that an interesting statement? What he was saying is that your faith in me and in God is what has made you whole. And so by the words of Jesus himself, and because he was connected with the Spirit, the people were able to connect with it to the same degree. Freely you have received, freely give. Another statement of the law of cause and effect. As we give without an intention of deliberately receiving something back, when we just give out of the heart, the universe itself will bring back that or greater good to us. You might not understand the next line. A man's foes, or a person's foes, shall be of his own household. It's talking about our own mind, because we are the ones who create the negativity in our world because of what we've been programmed with in our early childhood and in various teachings. I must have too much energy going. Is that it? To him who has much shall more be given. That's an interesting statement. It sounds like an imbalance of the law of cause and effect. But what he's saying is, those who have a consciousness of receiving will receive. And so, if you have a consciousness of giving, most of us have to learn to also have a consciousness of receiving, because most of us have had a problem with learning how to receive in our lives. Is there anybody here who has never had a problem in receiving? Would you float to the front, please? Right. Yes, and you notice I'm not floating either. Yes, we've all had that problem. The next one is beautiful. Lest you become like little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. If you look at what a child is innocent and joy and radical amazement. A child is full of life and joy. And when we watch children, and we watch them play, and we watch them run, and you know what? You know what that's? Turn me down just a little bit, see if that makes a difference. If you can. Okay? Yeah, I think that'll be better. Okay. So when we become like a child, we also have that innocent belief. And when we move into the higher dimensions of life, it's filled with this great joy and this great love and a great peace. And I think we have a short in our microphone. Oh, well. Am I off or on? Almost.
Yes.
Okay. I told you this was a test, testing me too. So the thing about children is they are great teachers for us. What most of us have done is got so serious in life, in making a living, in growing a family, in getting financial prosperity, achieving success, making an impression, being special, being outstanding, whatever it may be. And that isn't what a child's about. A child is about joy, and if you ever watch children, they have wonderful energies. And do you ever notice the way they sleep? They're out. They're out. Now, how many people here can do that? Yeah! That's right. You betcha. All right. So there are teachers in that way. In my Father's house are many mansions. You know, in Jesus' time, how would he explain to them about frequency and waves and X-rays and TVs and microwaves and all the different waves and frequencies? And how would he be able to explain to them that the total universe is filled with frequencies? That's what everything is. Everything is a frequency. Some at higher vibrations and some at lower vibrations. Our own science now finally understands this. And science says the same thing. Science now even says that everything is interconnected. Wow. Did you think you'd ever hear science talk about omnipresence? Yes. And Jesus said, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Even if we had a horrible childhood and we suffered pain and we suffered all the different negative things that we can, that I and most people probably have suffered, we have the opportunity to supersede those and to become greater than our problems and to rise above our problems and to be spiritual lights for the rest of the world And there are so many people who need love. And when we can rise out of our own mire and our own problems and our own pain and our own suffering and be there to help and serve other people, we will be lifted up. And we are lifted up, and they are lifted up too. This is the very special line that I put at the last one of his quotes. What I have done, you can do, and even greater. That's a very interesting statement. I interpret that statement to mean, you are the same as me, and what I've done, you can do and greater. So what Jesus was saying is that we are all divine, and we are all divine spirits. We are all at different levels of being that pure divinity, and we are all on this planet in the process of an evolution and a learning and an experience. So you might say to yourself, okay, if we're supposed to be like Jesus, what do we want to be like? So let me give you the attributes of what I call the divine Christ. Number one is a sharing heart. A sharing heart is filled with love and peace and acceptance. And it breaks my heart to say that most of us have not experienced that in our lives. When I ask how many people have been unconditionally loved by both parents, it's a disappointing small percentage. However, that percentage is changing, and it's growing. So as we share our heart with another person, we lift them up, and we are serving the divine when we do that. Another attribute of the divine that Jesus displayed was the caring. It was obvious. He cared for the people. They flocked to him because they knew that he cared for them. Another trait of Jesus, even though he was a super confident person, Jesus was humble. You might wonder what he meant when he said one time, when one of the people said to him, "Oh, you are so good, Master." And he said, "Only the Father is good." Well, isn't that an interesting statement? Only the Father is good. And I've pondered that ever since the first time I heard it, because I thought that's ridiculous, because everything's God, and so everything is good. And then, as my spiritual life progressed, I finally experienced the oneness with God. A lot of people are born experiencing the oneness with God. That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. But if you go through your first 40 years and have no experience of God, and then you get an experience of God, and it comes in the form of the oneness, it is totally overwhelming. And when you experience that beautiful, beautiful love, and that peace, and that harmony, and that joy, and that feeling, and that knowing that it loves you unconditionally just the way you are. I was still pretty screwed up at 42. And yet I felt that love, and I knew that it loved me, and it never judged me. You know, we should clear up a point here, because people talk about God judging, and even the law of cause and effect does not judge. The law of cause and effect brings back corresponding consequences. And it is a neutral law, just like gravity or any other law. And so the law of cause and effect is going to bring back to us whatever we've been putting out or are putting out as the predominant energy in our life. One of the traits of a Christed person is self-awareness. They know who they are, they have that humbleness, they have that confidence, and they know their oneness with God either on an ongoing basis or an increasing basis. A Christ person is unconditionally loving. We really don't know what unconditional love is on this planet for the most part. Unconditional love means that if you're my child and I get upset with you, I don't holler at you. I don't scold you. I don't beat you. I don't put you down. I don't diminish you. When my son was 1 year old and reaching for something, I heard myself say, "Tommy, no." And I heard my voice. And I said, I got that as a young man, and I will never talk to my son that way. And I never did. I never did. He was my teacher of unconditional love. 6 months with that little baby, and a man who didn't know any love fell in love unconditionally with the child. And that was beautiful. An attribute of the divine is the essence of our being. And the essence of our being is a light and a love and a sweetness and a power and a strength and a confidence and a wisdom. And it is the divine attributes expressing through us. The Christ knows that all are one. When you know that all are one, you will have reverence for the person, the animal, the earth, or whatever it may be. Because everything is part of the omnipresent body of God. And the omnipresent body of God is everywhere. There isn't God in anything else. An attribute of the Christ is a heart-melting smile. When that sweet soul smiles at you and you feel the love, you know you've been loved. Jesus was certainly a walking example of the attribute of peace and peacefulness. He was also an attribute of simplicity. It's interesting, you realize if you understand the physics of creation, everything was created through quarks and vortices. Those are attributes of sound. In other words, all creation was done with frequency. And yet we know that our bodies are at a lower frequency than the air is, or that beings at higher dimensions are. The next trait is interesting. A Christ is God-dependent. A Christ knows that there is one power. And because he or she knows it, that one power moves in and through them and acts through them. All we have to do is walk over and flip the switch to turn on the light. And when we go into our prayer and connect with the divine, we are flipping the switch to the divine energies. There's one power. If you know there's one power, what is there to be afraid of? And it is the fear that has made this planet in some of the chaos that it currently is. A Christ is belief demonstrated. There's a difference between believing and knowing. You can believe that you can heal someone, but you know it when you demonstrate it. The demonstration is the act of belief, of total belief. A Christ self is appreciative because it values every soul and every being, and it knows that all are to be loved and served and cared for. No exceptions. No exceptions. Country, color of skin, creed, religion, whatever it may be. No exceptions. The Christ self is life-loving because it is alive with the divine energies. And the Christ self is always a helping hand. You know, we have in this center and in many centers I've been in, there are many people who serve and serve and serve and serve. And they're beautiful lights of love, and they're serving mankind. And many of them serve in ways that you don't even know. They do their prayers in silence for the planet and for the rest of us. I would combine the next two items into one, insightful and wise. As we begin to grow spiritually, we learn to love. Then as we grow more and more, eventually we gain this wisdom that comes in, and it just comes through us. And we'll say things and we'll say, wow, I wonder where that came from. And so if you felt yourself saying something that was really impressive and heart-touching, you were expressing it. And that means that the wisdom of the divine is our wisdom. In our teaching, we teach that there is one mind, one body, one power, one spirit. And that one mind is everywhere present. And when we realize that we are one with that one mind, we can tap into it. So what I did was I took all these attributes and I wrote a poem for Christmas. So I want to share it with you. It's called, Who is the Christ? And this poem is the answer to that question. Who is the Christ? A deep, tender, powerful sharing, a love always present and caring. A humbleness that makes the heart bow. A source that somehow always knows how. A self-knowingness that others know. A presence with a sweet, loving glow. A clear touch of the divine in view. A love that makes all things seem like new. A sense that none are really apart. A smile that melts the receiving heart. A peace that prevails even in strife. A simplicity of self and life. A reliance on the loving source, a knowing it is the only force. A sincere belief that demonstrates a heart that truly appreciates. A deep love of life's every part, a helping hand from a loving heart. A perception that sees to the core, a heart-giving love, and so much more. A deep wisdom that clearly shines through, a reflection of the divine you. These are just part of the Christ in view. So please tell me, sweet soul, is this you? And we're all here to serve and love one another. So at this moment, let us go into prayer. Beautiful, loving source, wondrous God of my being, as your holy presence fills each person here, there is a peace and a calm and a serenity that supersedes all situations. And so as one body and one consciousness, recognizing there is only one mind, one power, one body, one spirit, one essence, one life, one consciousness, and that is Father, Mother, God, expressing as everything and everyone in this universe. And so let us now, from the depth of our hearts, speak the word for anyone and everyone in pain. Anyone and everyone suffering, hungering, dying, hurting, alone, whatever it may be. Let us speak the word of rebirth and the word of their soul rising up into its knowingness of its own divinity, its own grandeur, its own light, its own love, as already one with the one. For in spite of appearances, there is no separation. My loving God is right here. Your loving God is right here. And you are part of it, and I am part of it. We are one with it. My prayer is that this entire planet awakens to this realization of this oneness. And I would like to close this prayer by having the lights turned on. And all of you pick up your program. And at the bottom of your program is a prayer I would like you to do every day until this planet is transformed through its current evolution. So would you join me, please, at the very bottom? We call on all the higher spiritual beings to join us in sending ongoing love, blessings, and healing energies to the earth, to our beloved spirit of the earth, Gaia, and to all life on earth. Thank you, one and all. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I know you're all blessed, and so it is.